start the recording.
Sure, yeah, our professional mantra chanter Rani Raoji is not available today, so I have to do that. um, okay. Um, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So welcome everybody for a beautiful talk between the Ronnie and the Gudrun. They both are here, and we would like to, before we get started, we definitely want Rakesh to be able to introduce Gudrun, and we would like to also talk a very little about what Ashra Jyotish is all about. I always been getting questions on this one, what Ashra Jyotish is. So I will get on that very quickly. I would like to make sure that my slide is showing up. There we go. Good. So Ashra Jyotish is an organization which has been, I will say, formally getting stabilized recently, while it has a long history. And I do not have to make introduction about Ashra Jyotish a lot to the folks who is present over here, because it has a history of pretty much 30 years, and it started with Swami Dayanand Saraswati having a mail to Rakesh, and Rakesh Sharma is the name organizer behind all those years of multiple conferences coming up in this area, as well as in doing multiple classes in Ashra Vidya. So we are closely integrated with Ashra Vidya. And our big chunk of the course fee goes to Ashra Vidya even at this point of time. And as we say, we are rooted from various years, 30 years, and we are primarily known for the conference, the Jyotish Kumbh Mela, and this year it's going to be 26th year. Without failure, we have a continuous conference. So keeping that in mind, even this year in a COVID situation, we are running our session as well. While we modified the session so that people can really turn up and then be able to join the session. In addition to that, I definitely want to talk about how we came up with the Ashra Jyotish idea. So we were used to have a conference where international level people will come join the session for a short time. We will have it in Ashra Vidya. It's a Gurukulam, it's an ashram. People come, live there, and attend the session. While we always saw a slight gap in the people understanding, they get a lot out of the conference, while it's not a forum where they can continuously be in touch with a beautiful astrologers. So we got this idea, and also the technology is coming up, giving us this opportunity where we can do these online classes, bring some of the folks at their own place, and then still be able to deliver the masses to the folks and be able to be available for us with their beautiful teaching. So that was the idea behind, and also it will not be surprised when they are coming for the conference that they are not used to of the teachers. So that was one of the idea behind coming up with the Ashra Jyotish, and that's exactly what we are doing right now. We are doing an year round of engagement of Jyotish folks, as well as different speakers we are bringing in from different places, and making sure they are connecting with each other, and then we are having multiple courses, as well as some of the, I will say, some of the complementary courses where people are getting more used to of the new environment. So in addition to Jyotish, we are also in a related stream of Vastu classes. You can see from us some of the Ayurveda classes you'll also see, which is we have been promoting in the past as well. So we'll also be doing that in a related folk as well, but primarily you'll be seeing the Jyotish from here. And just very, I do not want to take a lot of time of yours, but just wanted to just very quickly talk about what Kumbh Mela is all about and what we are going to have the session at this time. We are very excited to present that we have a virtual International Jyotish Kumbh Mela for 2020, which will run from the Saturday 29th August to the Sunday 27th September. It will be only weekend program, and having the weekend, we do not want to take again a lot of time of people's, so it will be running in the first half. So we will have a compact session in the morning, US morning time. So we'll have a 8 a.m. to like 1:30. We'll have that compact program where we will have 3 sessions in the morning, and also on the Saturday I will request people to join in the evening for a short panel discussion among the speakers which are available. And then the same schedule will be followed on the Sunday as well. Again, in the morning, we will have that session. And that will go for the next 5 weekends. So 29, 30, and then go on for the next like 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, and then 19, 20, and then 26, 27. Multiple topics coming up is like, few topics which you see over here is obviously Sudarshan Chakra, medical astrology, Laghu Parashari, and then a lot of yogas and nakshatras. So those will be multiple topics which and topics will be still showing up because the speakers are still confirming their topics. So you'll see more coming up in that area. And each webinar will be around 90 minutes. And overall, it's going to be around 50 hours of a session, which will be running in the conference. Wanted to very quickly talk about the speakers which has already confirmed at this stage. So we have Dr. Charak, A.B. Shukla, V.P. Goel, Vinay Aditya, Kamila, Kenneth Miller, and we can have a quiz session over here whose picture belongs to whom, especially for the people who do not know. That's the reason I have it at 2 places. Overall, you know these names, so I do not have to kind of do this quiz session. And names like Charlotte, the Simon, Navneet Kaushik. So, and obviously we have 2 people over here right now, is the Gudrun and the Ronnie. Both will be there in the Jyotish Mela as well. And again, I will quickly move on to a slight more about Jyotish Mela. Is as we are planning this weekend, we have given a choice to people to either come for the whole full conference where you will have all the 5 weekends you are coming into, or also you have a choice, you can come in each weekend, and we have given a kind of a theme for each weekend so that you gain out of it, as well as sometimes people wants to know, I'm not very good into divisionals, I am very good into nakshatras. So you can skip the nakshatra and you can do your only divisionals. So keeping that in mind, we have a weekend plan one, starting with the strength of the divisional charts. Then we are talking about getting into medical astrology, or the topics related to medical astrology is like, disease, mental depression, health is one of the biggest concern which we are seeing during the COVID situation as well. So we definitely want to, emphasize on that area. Nakshatra is a forever topic for Jyotish. So we do not want to skip that. There are many things related to nakshatras people wants to talk about. Either we're talking about the lagn itself, driving, or prashna, or nakshatra analysis. So I do not have to present that part, like why is it so important. And then one of the topic which we have picked up is the prashra. So this topic is primarily about how close we are to the sastras and which is getting driven from there. So few of the topics you will be seeing around that, and one of the new book of Dr. Charak is coming in the Laghu Parashra. So you will have 2 sessions of that coming during that weekend about that book. And there is a lot of hard work gone from the Kesharak on that one. So definitely we are looking forward to hear a lot on that. And then in the last this weekend, which are looking into more of a life events, and people wants to get into it. I will not say predict those events, but at least know the probable time when it is coming in your life is, when we are having consultation, when my daughter will get married, or, when I should be more cautious about any not good time and watch out for those times. So these are also, was an important event. So we looked into that part as well. So with that, I will definitely, would like to stop myself and let the session, what we came here for, we will look into those ones. And quickly, I will ask if the Rakesh is available, then we'll move to the next session, next part of this. So Rakesh, are you up? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So Rakesh, now it will be your turn. We'll get into the content, and here is Ronnie and Gudrun. So we'll give you an opportunity to talk about Ronnie.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to introduce to Ronnie because she's a very special person in Vedic astrology world, because she was the one who wrote the first book on Vedic astrology. She and then she went to India and stayed in Varanasi, wore sari and went on a bicycle to Sampurnanand Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya, where Murarilal Sharma was the head, and I had invited Murarilal Sharma to IIT Kanpur. I was running a astrology palmistry club at that time as a hobby club, so we invited him. So I know him pretty well, how good he was compared to other Jyotishis in Varanasi at that time. So, and then Ronnie went from cities to city to introduce Vedic astrology to America, and she is probably the most sold, one of the most sold Vedic astrology book in America. So I met her in a conference. Before that, I had read her book in '94. And since then, she has been coming to Arshavidyakit Gurukulam. So I welcome Ronnie to introduce Gudrun. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh. So I'm really honored to be able to introduce Gudrun, and especially introduce her to a lot of people who maybe have not come to Arshavidya and who live in America and don't know Gudrun's work, which is spectacular. And just to tell a little story, to say also in all transparency and all full disclosure that Gudrun and I are very good friends. And we met at the ashram. And I know this year we can't have it in person, but that to me is also one of the wonderful things about Arshavidya. And as Rakesh said, I've been going there for over 25 years as an attendee and also as a speaker. And the wonderful thing is that you can get so much knowledge. I mean, so much knowledge from day till night that, you know, by the time you go to sleep, you're completely saturated. But the other wonderful thing about conferences is really meeting people. And those people will become your teachers, your mentors, but above all, they will become your friends. And for me, that's been one of the blessings of conferences in general, but especially of Gudrun. And we met, I believe, in 2013. And because the conference is, you know, 10 days long, sometimes you don't always come for the whole 10 days. So I came and caught her lectures. And then she was leaving, I believe, the next day. And we had breakfast together, and she took one of my recordings. And it just turned out that she lives in Germany. And I lived in Holland for many years. And I said to Gudrun, I said, oh, you know, I have a wonderful soft spot in Germany for a place called Bad Kreuznach, because I had somebody there, a woman who used to host me once a year. She would arrange for astrology readings. And Gudrun said, that's where I live, in Bad Kreuznach. So already there was this wonderful connection. And then she invited me to come to her conference, which she organizes with her husband, Nicholas Lewis, every other year. And I went there in 2014 and had a wonderful time and met wonderful students that she and Nicholas have mentored for many years, and people who came from all over Europe to go to her conference. And then after that, I've done a few webinars for her group. So the relationship between us has grown both personally and professionally. And as Gudrun will tell you about her life and her work, her husband is British, so her English is impeccable. You know, so that's another wonderful thing for everybody here. And when you do workshops for Gudrun, the most amazing thing at her conference was that all of us who are international speakers, she actually translated on the spot. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it's you know, I speak foreign languages and I can translate, but on the spot translation. So we would all speak, you know, maybe I would speak for 5 or 10 minutes, then she would translate. And it went back and forth, and Gudrun did this for 3 days running. So that was also quite amazing. But she has not just a wonderful way with people, but she has just an incredible way of doing astrology. And it's both wonderfully knowledgeable and esoteric, but it's amazingly down to earth. And I think that's why people who come to Arsha Vidya really appreciate Gudrun in a way that is just so amazing, because first of all, she's totally organized. When she comes to Arsha Vidya, her slides and her presentations are just organized, they're spot on, and she has such practical knowledge that you can then walk away and actually use, you know, for your students, you can use for your clients, use for even people who you know in your family, your friends. And that's what's really wonderful. And since the 2000s, she has been involved with teaching astrology and doing client work, and has the Astrovedic Academy, where they certify people every year, once a year. And I know Vinay Aditya, who I think is here and will speak later on, he comes every year and helps with the certification exams as well. And her conferences have just attracted people all over Europe, because she, you know, really is one of the foremost Vedic astrology organizations in Europe. And so anyway, so I'm thrilled to talk to Gudrun, and since it's about her, I'm gonna just start by asking Gudrun. We had a talk yesterday, preliminary talk, and the one thing I said is that, is there anything I shouldn't ask you? You know, because, you know, I really wanted to know. Also, Gudrun has Scorpio rising. You don't mind if I say that, right? Okay, so, you know, no, okay. So sometimes, you know, with all of us, especially with Scorpio rising, you want to be very careful. You don't want to, you know, ask questions that might put them on the spot. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is just actually give the floor to Gudrun, and first just ask her about, you know, what she wants us to know just about her life in general, how it led up to Jyotish, because we all had lives before we came across astrology. So Gudrun, why not just introduce yourself and tell us all about, you know, your life, especially up in.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thanks so much. I'm just about pretending a power cut so that I don't have to say anything, because it can only get worse what I'm saying about myself. You put me in such a great light. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for really saying we are good friends. I appreciate that a lot. That's what I think about you as well, and tell everyone thanks a lot. Yeah, anyway, how I came to Jyotish is probably not a very spectacular story. It is, if I think back, it started really with my questioning what is the purpose of life when I was a child already, because I didn't have a very easy childhood. Not easy in that sense. I grew up in a very tiny village, And it was a little bit probably like India is now in the rural countries. It was really remote and everything rather quiet and so on. But then when I was a teenager, my sister developed a serious disease. She actually lost an eye at the age of 4 or so. And at the same time, my father developed a very serious disease also, and he turned blind at the age of 42. So I lived with a lot of negative, difficult stuff, and I realized that I started asking myself in my teenage ages, yes, when other people were like celebrating parties, I started asking myself, what's the purpose of life? And I tried to find answers for that. And I realized that the Catholic environment I was growing up with did not offer me convincing answers. So I subconsciously started looking. And at the age, in my late 20s, I had already 3 children by then. I realized that there is a whole world out there which is about psychology and self-development on one hand, and that's also when I got in touch with astrology. And up to that point, I think I was really searching here and there, and nothing really stuck to me until I got in touch with astrology. But that was obviously Western astrology back then. And I started a training to become a Western astrologer, and I loved it. I did it for nearly 10 years. And by that point of time then, my marriage had broken up. I had met Nick in between. And he, by the way, had nothing to do with breaking up the marriage. That was one thing after the other. And through him, he came back from a journey from India. Through him, I got in touch with Vedic astrology, which was really alien to me, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it in the beginning, because I thought that's so much new stuff to learn. Why don't you stick to your nice Western techniques, which you are now very easily capable to handle? But he did not let go. So when I had, at that point of time, I had already become a state qualified naturopath, what we call here Heilpraktiker. And we are a little bit in the middle of, we have certain rights like only doctors have, but on the other hand, we certainly have not as many rights as doctors. It's a weird situation, interesting position we have here. So in that period of time, I was doing astrology. I was trying to get trained in homeopathy through him, basically. He was a very good homeopath at that point of time. And whenever I had a Western client, he would just put the Vedic chart next to my printout on my table. And I had no idea what that chart was about. But I kept asking the clients, did you have a major change in life, let's say in 1980, when you had a dasha change? No, I had no idea what a dasha is about. I only saw those numbers. And I was absolutely thrilled when these people told me, yes, that's exactly when my whole life changed. So I thought, I've got to learn that system. I need to learn that. And that's how it all started. Nick and I got whatever was available in terms of books. We did a correspondence course with someone in Holland. We got in touch with Camilla. We got in touch and involved with Bava, no? And then we invited Ernst Wilhelm to come over. Ernst Wilhelm, I will never forget that. He was over in Germany with his 1-year-old son and wife on 9/11. We were sitting in front of the television and we saw the Twin Towers crash again and again, obviously. And we were discussing that. That's something I would certainly never, ever forget again in my life. No? And that was like an initiation into a complete new world for me. Up to then, I had no connection with Indian spirituality, for example. I was not a yoga person or so on. It all started from there. And through Jyotish, I got into all these other fantastic parts of of the Vedic sciences.
So how did you, and about what year was that? And when did you take your first trip to India? What was that, and what did that entail?
That was the late 90s. In the late 90s, Nick did that trip to India and came back with those books. And then we more or less, or I dropped everything. I immediately stopped doing Western readings because I got so confused with the shift of the science. And I admire you, Ronnie, for being able to handle both. No, I never could do that. My brain did not work that way. So I dropped everything on that front, and we got really, for the next 2 or 3 years, very intense. We started studying Jyotish, no? And then my first trip to India, I think that was that also 2001 or 2002, around that period of time. We did a private trip. And then in 2002, we had our first conference. We founded our organization, a non-profit organization, in 2002. And Camilla was she was so supportive to us in the first years. And then she invited us to come to India to that Calicut conference, where you haven't been, I think, no?
No, I haven't been to India in many years, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Travel challenge these days. But.
Yeah, and at that conference, actually, I tried to get in touch with Dr. Charak, who is, I think, here as well today. So Dr. Charak was then the next person who was really very, very instrumental for getting everything started in Germany. So I met him, and then we met many times in Delhi, because I spent quite some time in Delhi, partly because I was sent to Indian book fairs from Nick, my husband, partly because I needed to meet Dr. Charak or Vinay Aditya for discussing everything related to our exams. But it all started with meeting Dr. Charak in 2002 in Calicut, and then it took another few years until I got to know Vinay through Dr. Charak. Now that was the chain.
And what happened when you met Vinay? Was that when you started to do certifications, or
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I think the certifications and the exams we started doing in 2006. And by that time, I had actually got to know Vinay, and because Dr. Charak was always very busy with his hospital work, he sort of referred Vinay and me to Vinay, and then Vinay took more or less over. And I think I can say about Vinay and his family and our family that quite a deep relationship has developed over the years. So that was, everything is a little bit like you said about Asha Vidya. It's not like business relationships, you know? It's much more than that, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll hear from Vinay, of course, a little bit later, because he's gonna talk to everybody about you and his relationship with you. What would you say in terms of when you started your practice in Germany and taught, just started doing readings? I know sometimes when I do readings for people, there are, two kinds. There's some people who come, they don't really care what system I use, or how I do it. They just want to know the answers, and they just want to know what you tell them. And then there are other people who come who want to really see how you come to your conclusions. So how did you start to get people to kind of acknowledge Jyotish? Because in the early 2000s, I mean, even though it's been around for thousands of years, and there was an influx in the West, at least in America, in the 70s and 80s. B.V. Raman came to America. He had even spoken at the United Nations. And then because it was so difficult in the early days to get books from India, I think a lot of the interest waned. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of people came back from India and wrote books, and we started to have conferences. And that's when we in America also learned about everybody else who was practicing Jyotish, and of course people who were involved with Self-Realization Fellowship and with the TM community, they were also very involved with Jyotish. So they were instrumental in America in, bringing it here. So how did you introduce people there to Jyotish? Was it very easy, or did people look at you like you were crazy at first? I mean, how did did it happen with your classes, or how did that happen?
Well, that was actually not easy. That was really hard work, no? Because like the main question always was, why would we want to know something about Indian or Vedic astrology? We got our astrology here. What's so different? What's the big deal? No? But I had that big advantage, as you mentioned in the beginning, that through Nick, my English husband, I was getting in touch with international astrological press and tendencies. So we realized that in the mountain astrology, people were already talking about Vedic astrology and so on. So what I did, and that was actually quite bold back then, I must admit, I just rang what is it called, the editor from the one big German astrological magazine that we have. It's called Meridian. And back then, a guy called Markus Jähle, who was personally actually quite interested in Vedic astrology, he was the main editor. And I rang him and I told him, very self-secure, I said, I think it's about time that you are going to publish something about Vedic astrology. And I had an article in mind, which I had not written even. And that article was about how I became an Aquarius. And I was actually talking about the shifting of my sun from Pisces to Aquarius in the Vedic system, in the sidereal system. And I really had to use all my persuasive skills to get him to allow me to send that article, which I hadn't even written then. Hopefully he doesn't hear that. So I wrote that article, I sent it to him, and he wrote back, brilliant, and he published it. So whenever I had an idea and I thought, let's write something about Vedic astrology, I wrote it and I sent it to him and he published it. So now, actually in the last issue, I have also published something about the COVID pandemic from sidereal or Jyotish perspective, because they are all going on with a Western view. And I have a little bit of role there. I very often contribute something from our perspective. And there is a new editor by now, but he is still publishing what I send when I send something. So that was the most important step, because through that, we got a lot of publicity amongst the astrologers. And then within no time, we had a group of Western astrologers who had read the book of Richard Hook. Is it Hook or Hauck? You know what I mean? I think it was Digital Astrology or something it was called. And in German, if I would translate the German title into English, it was like Death in Astrology. That's what they made out of it in German. And it attracted a lot of interest. And they were waiting for someone to allow them to study Vedic astrology in German language. Now that was my big advantage, that I could then translate stuff and could also write own stuff. And they were just like waiting for it. You know?
Yeah, that Richard Hauck he passed away, unfortunately, at an early age, but he was a very well-known astrologer. In the 90s, we used to always see each other at Aqua conferences. The book I think you're thinking of is Astrology of Death. He wrote one book called Astrology of Death, and then another book called Digital Astrology. It was about Ashtaka Varga, the digital astrology.
No, that was the death one, definitely.
Right, Astrology of Death. The digital astrology was sort of how he used Ashtaka Varga and used the term digital for all the,
No, that was a lot about the progressions, secondary and tertiary progressions, which he transferred into the Vedic system, no?
So you've written some books as well, right? Haven't you, as well? So you've written 2 books?
Yes, then in I think the first book we published in 2003 and that was a little bit always the whole dynamic. Nick was the one who came up with the ideas, and he said, we need to write a book. You need to write a book, because it was in German. So we did the concept together, and we discussed a lot, but basically the writing work I did. And he said, you need to do it now, because afterwards there will be more people coming up and writing books, so do it now. And that was actually like, I could identify with Meenakshi's husband, like getting up 4 o'clock in the morning and write for some hours and then have the normal day work. And then it sort of worked out quite well. And 2006, that was a basic book. I called it like it's a manual, like a practical manual.
Mm-hmm.
And it covered the whole basics, like the yogas and how to deal with the dashas and health and different partnership, different topics and so on. And then in 2006 or 7, no, 6 it must have been, we wrote the next one about the moon. It's called Chandra, the moon in Vedic astrology, in German, obviously, you know. And I think it's 280 pages or so. And we still get very good feedback on that book, because we have really gone deep into this moon yogas, into also the moon's meaning on all different levels, no combinations between nakshatras, rajis, navamjas, and so on. And I think this is, I'd actually like to get that book onto the English market, but the translation has always been the issue. So maybe I have to try again.
I was going to ask you if they were available in English.
No,
they're both in German.
But there is not any book like that available, as far as I know, in English language either on that topic. So it might not be completely uninteresting.
Oh, maybe we can talk about that at another time. think about how you can get it translated. So, so tell me a little bit more, or tell everybody a little bit more before I go on to talk about your upcoming lectures. A little bit about just the organization that you run and the school, how they are connected, the nonprofit organization and the academy, the structure of both of them.
Well, I always tell people I never ever in my life made a business concept. No, nowadays when you walk to a bank, you need a business concept. I never had a concept in mind. Mm-hmm. It always sort of worked out and happened. And when we started Vedic astrology in Germany, we were actually basically doing a lot of consultations, much more than now. And then we were also doing a little bit of teaching. But then we started realizing that, and also I think in 2003, I took my aqua exam, mm-hmm. which was a little bit, it felt a bit weird, because I had already published that book, which was never criticized by anyone on a sort of formal or content level. But still, I did the exam because I thought I might need some sort of certification. If somebody tried to ask who qualified you, how can you do all that? So that's what I did then. And really in the beginning also, Nick said, because he had been exposed to India and Ayurveda years before. He actually went to India, I think to Varanasi for some time, must be literally 40 years ago, when he tried to study Ayurveda, and he was working like a resident in those hospitals, and he just couldn't deal with everything there, no? Like throwing dead bodies out of the windows and so on. No? He really couldn't do it. So when he came back, and when he later on saw what people were doing with Ayurveda, like more or less boiling it down to a nice, lovely oil massage, taking that out of the whole context, he said, we need to do our best that is not happening with Jyotish. We need to really make sure, as much as we are able, to get Jyotish really delivered as authentic as possible and also protected to some degree. So then we thought, okay, BAVA are doing so well with their association, let's try something similar. And we founded that organization, which we call German Association of Vedic Astrology. That actually went on for 18 years. In the end, it was called the European Association of Vedic Astrology. But the problem was that in the meantime, parallel to that, our academy was slowly building up. No, we got more and more students. Then we started teaching in online, and then I started teaching foundation classes in German and English parallel. We have quite a few students in Holland, for example. No? So at some point, I really realized I cannot do that anymore. I mean, I'm 58 now. And 2 years ago, I said, I think I've done that long enough, on both accounts. And I'd like to hand that association over, which did unfortunately not work out. So the association is now not existent anymore. We still hope that some of the people who were involved will come up with some new organization, which I would be very happy to support, but I don't want to be the first chairperson or president ever again, because it's just too much. It's not much of a life left over if you try to run two organizations at the same time. No? So what we did then is, because we still stick to our goals, we want Vedic astrology to be taught here in a very authentic way. That's also why we started inviting teachers from India, America, England already in 2002. No? And we always tried to get the really best teachers, like, for example, you were here, Professor Shekhar, Vinay Aditya. Dr. Charak unfortunately never made it, so we did our best, but it somehow did not work out, but who knows. And in all that, we thought, well, if the organization is non-existent anymore, we do what we have done all the years. We are trying to train people in a serious way, and we got very, very brilliant students over the years who really, many of them got close friends over the years as well. And we did an exam, like, for example, this year with Vinay, same scheme, everything the same. It's just that the title has a little bit of a change. No? It's now Astro-Vedic approved instead of EVVA approved. And I don't think that is a disadvantage for those people who do it.
Do you know offhand how many graduates you've had with that degree, with the certification?
I don't really know, but it must be between 60 and 100.
Wonderful.
Nick says at the least. No, yeah, it must be. It was 9 already this year, and there will be another 4 coming this year. No, so yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And will you have future conferences, you think, also?
I'm always happy to host them and to do the translation work also. And if there are people, and I think there are people who help with the rest, I am absolutely happy to have a conference again. I don't want only virtual conferences if I have a say in the matter.
I know. I mean, we're hoping we can all have in-person conferences again, because Arsha Vidya is a wonderful conference, and your conference was wonderful when I was there. And I missed the boat ride because I had jet lag. So hopefully when I come again, we can actually have that boat ride on the Rhine. So what I want to do now is just have you talk a little bit about the topics that you're going to present at Arsha Vidya. Then I'm going to give the floor to Vinay, and then we can have questions and answers from the audience.
Okay.
So you're going to speak the first weekend about the chart as guiding compass to a fulfilling career.
Yes. because Meenakshi, I can only do the first 2 weekends because the next weekends of the conference we are either teaching or maybe hopefully on a vacation in Switzerland. We will see. And so I said, okay, I can do the first 2 weekends. And then Meenakshi said the first weekend is about the strength of the Vargas. And I must admit, I belong to the group of astrologers who is a little bit reluctant with the Vargas, knowing that they can shift so quickly if the birth time is not very accurate. And Ronnie described me as somebody who had everything quite structured, and there it comes in my way, I think. I need to really know the birth time is accurate, otherwise I find Vargas a little bit tricky. So, but what I have done for some months ago, I did like a six evening training on how to really find the best possible advice for someone in terms of professions. That includes some Varga work, obviously. And I thought that this was really going very well. We had quite a few interesting techniques which you don't find everywhere, which I'm probably reminding people of using when I do that class. So that's my intention, to get like the essence of those 6 evenings and present them in Ashavidya in that lecture.
Okay, and the second lecture is the following weekend, and it's about depression and anxiety in a chart, which for COVID times is very important, I think.
I mean, we have done a lot of work in terms of mental disease. And that's why I chose anxiety, because I thought that is such an important topic now. So from all the material we have on mental disease, we are going to filter something out, and we are going to talk about different types of depression and how to see anxiety in a chart, and hopefully also how to give people some sound advice and get them on a safer ground again.
Do you deal with remedies in that lecture as well, certain remedies, or?
I will not. I will certainly not do that in that lecture, because that would probably be too much. It's more than more coming from a day-to-day, not from the typical Vedic remedies, because also in here in Europe there is a certain group of people very open for those remedies, but others are not. And I think we as astrologers need to always find out what is that person available for, open to. And I will probably more talk about other advice we would give people rather than the typical remedies, which would then like a big topic anyway.
That sounds wonderful.
That's nice.
Well, I heard you lecture many times, so I'm really looking forward. I hope I can come. Well, actually, the one day, August 30th, is the day that I'm providing a workshop. But for people who can't attend live, I'm assuming they can get recordings, right, Meenakshi? Anybody who can't attend live, they can get the recordings after and pay for those. Of the,
yes, Ronnie. Yes.
Yeah. So that's great. So Gudrun, and is Swamiji here or just Vinay? Because Swami Swatmananda wanted to talk. Is he here?
Yeah, he's not here, but I have a message from him. And before that, we'll definitely want the Vinay Aditya to be able to.
Okay. So let me wrap it up, and then we can turn the floor over to Vinay. So is there anything I left out, Gudrun, that you'd like people to know about you, Nick, the organization, or just your relationship to Jyotish, or anything? So you have the floor to say what you want before Vinay comes and talks all about your relationship.
Yeah. Okay. What?
I think again, one of the people who've done the exam is very small percentage.
And Nick is giving his comments. You can see probably. So he just said I should mention that the figures on the numbers of people who did the exam were not high enough. But maybe Vinay knows. Maybe he did. No, but we have been really training a lot of people, and also in the last few years I was actively encouraging people to do readings, because I found, I don't know if that's the same over there, a lot of people are very well trained, but then they don't know how to get into it. No, they are too shy or afraid to make a mistake or so. And that is when I started doing some counseling technique stuff on top of the astrological training. And we are having regular supervision classes here once a week online, where we discuss the charts of the clients of our students, obviously very confidential. And I think that was another very important development, because I don't want to have so many people out there who have all the knowledge and it's not getting to the people. No, that's, we want this knowledge to be used and useful. And the most interesting and thrilling part for me is that I got more into Vedanta, which that did not happen by chance, which happened because I got in touch with the Ashavidya ashram. And that was for me the greatest blessing, if I look back now, that I on a personal level also realized that this contributed so much to changing my life. And Swami Swatmananda always says, when you really understand Vedanta, start understanding, you will get not only a more relaxed, but also a nicer person.
I was also supposed, I realized that I'm looking at my instructions from Meenakshi, and I was supposed to also ask you how you came to come to Arshavidya. So we can do that for 5 minutes, and then we can have Vinay talk.
Yeah, that's also the fantastic bridge over to Vinay Aditya, because I picked up Vinay from the airport, I don't know how many times in the past 20 years or so. And on one of these trips back from the airport, from Frankfurt to Bad Kreuznach, we were talking about Ashavidya. And then Vinay said, would you like to lecture there actually one day? And I said, why not? And that's how it happened. No? So next year I got an invitation and I came over. And that was like a completely different world again, because the cultural differences between Americans and Germans are quite noticeable. Basically, I like the American mentality, which is more open and less strict in a way, you know? And that was the start of that connection. And I don't know, I think I'm not actually good in keeping all that in mind. I think I must have been there for 4 or 5 times at least over the years.
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful to talk to you, Gudrun, and tell everybody, you know, what I already know mostly about you. And I know Vinay wants to, I think Vinay wants to speak now and talk about, maybe his involvement with your organization and just your relationship, and sing your praises, I think.
Thanks so much, Ronnie.
Thanks. Meenakshi, I'm going to give you the floor so you can give it to Vinay or provide the message from Swami Swatmananda, whichever comes first.
Sure, Ronnie. I would definitely want to give this to Vinay Aditya. So, Vinayji, you are around?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I am. Can you hear me?
So go ahead, please. Talk something about the Gudrun.
Okay.
But be careful, Vinay.
Ronnie has unveiled quite a few layers from Gudrun's past and present. All I can say is there is no facet of Gudrun's personality that I don't like. And this also has been confirmed by the Arshavidya students who have been exposed to Gudrun now for the last 4 or 5 terms, that she's become one of the most popular teachers for various reasons. One of them, of course, is that she's so thoroughly organized about her subject, and beautiful presentations, and the depth that Arshavidya now expects from every teacher she's able to bring that depth in every subject that she chooses to teach. And above all, I think the American students have been completely bowled over by the English of this German lady. And of course, I think she's the greatest translator from English to German. And therefore, I would really exhort her to translate the Moon book to English, because it would be a unique book. And even if there are other people who have a small chapter on Moon in their books, but Gudrun's book would be quite something. And I think soon after that, maybe she should write on the mental diseases, because depression, etc., are the national diseases of Germany. So Gudrun and Nick have the best idea of how to judge it from the horoscope. And then what kind of remedies, not necessarily astrological, but otherwise can be offered to people who are suffering from various kinds of mental diseases, or are on the verge of those diseases, and they need some support from any outside agency, including the astrologer. And of course, I was telling Gudrun that it is okay to do the exams online, but nothing to beat the German fresh air. As soon as you come out of the airport, Frankfurt, the fresh air that you feel in Germany, that is so invigorating. And it can never be the same online. It has to be, you have to be there. You have to be in Bad Kreuznach to enjoy the river flowing by the side. And the whole environment, the whole atmosphere of people gathering from all over Europe and joining those classes and conferences and living them with their own questions and with their presence and with their involvement. And everything is so highly enjoyable that it doesn't look like work. It looks like holiday and it looks like picnic to me. And have been there probably from 2003 or 4, practically on every conference that Gudrun has held. So, and of course, over the years, and that's a very special quality of Gudrun, over the years, people who she associates on the professional level, they become her personal friends. And then that friendship lasts. It's not just because of the mutual interest on the subject. And when my son wanted to study in Germany, she took over and settled him. And she's practically his godmother even after now about 12, 13 years. So they developed a very good personal rapport, and my son would always go to her house on the around the Christmas day, when her children and a lot of other children and cousins and all the whole group would assemble, and they would have the festivities of the Christmas. And he enjoyed those things very much. And he decided to continue to be in Germany even after he completed his PhD. And Gudrun is still looking after him. And he's very grateful that there is someone like Gudrun who's around. If he has any problem he can always refer to Gudrun with her very, very practical solutions offered to him. And I thank Gudrun to have been our friend for a long time. And it's always been a pleasure. It looks to me as if it's not a friendship between me and me, my wife, my children, with Gudrun and her family, as if it's a friendship between India and Germany. So, that's the feeling. And I think India and Germany are doing pretty well in their personal friendships, unlike China and India. So with those words, I would rather stop here.
Yeah.
Meenakshi.
Thank Thank you, Vinayji, for the beautiful. We have been really knowing about it, but thank you for laying down so well. So, with that, I do have a message from Swamiji, and I would like to give this opportunity to Saurabh to be able to read the message which has came from Swamiji. So, Saurabh, you are on.
Sure, thank you. Swami Swatmanandaji, he was supposed to be here, but because of certain reasons, he couldn't be. So he was very graceful to send a written message, which I'm happy to read for all of us here. So he just sent saying that we met over 20 years ago during the Aqua conferences in US and also at the Aqua retreat in India. During that time and even now as my student, I have noticed an innate and unwavering devotion to knowing the Vedas. Her passion for the Vedas to consistently learn and understand with humility is rare. And because she finds so much value in what she learns and understands, she naturally is eager to share with others so that they too can benefit as she did. This one factor distinguishes her from many other astrologers who are busy trying to be famous or always right in their predictions. Her great and many accomplishments are based not on her desire to be famous or rich, but on her sincere desire to share with humility the treasures and gems of Vedic knowledge. Needless to say, all her humble sacrifices and dedication to this field for the last few decades yields great punya for her, her students, and her community. Wishing her and all of you blessings for a great interview. So that's the message from Swamiji, and thanks a lot.
Oh, lovely. So thank you, Gudrun. It's like it feels so good, that I could do my hard work, I can say, from the behind for the event management. And I'm feeling really happy and content, and I will say I will say accomplished. Like, I could take some time from you and organize this one. So feeling very happy to know about your beautiful journey and the hardship which you felt through, and the small hardships really take us apart, and how you have gone through the journey and made yourself so successful in your life. And as a human, you are so good. And especially the points which has been hearing, I am really thrilled with this. So definitely a big thanks coming from me itself. And with that, I will definitely would like to see if there is questions coming from the people. I am not seeing much question. I think everybody is more taking the interview from their side. So would like to just open up in general, I will start with Rakesh. So Rakesh, do you want to add something in over here from your side? Let me just quickly check.
Maybe better to just open it up to anybody.
Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely opening up for the question, but I'm just saying that if Rakesh would like to add something. So I'm not saying that Rakesh will be able to add. So I will just open up with the question and ask people, do you have any question to ask to Gudrun? And accordingly, we'll go over. If not,
Anashka, are we asking it in the Zoom chat or just like this?
You can speak up at this moment.
Thank you for, this has been a wonderful meeting, and I have not met you before, Gudrun, and I'm curious. I live in the United States, and I wondered if people wanted to take your courses, how long it would take to be ready, if you were an avid student, then to take the licensing exams.
Yeah, okay, so that's good to get down to earth with questions. Thanks everyone who is saying so nice words about me. I feel a little bit weird about that, and I think you have all been very nice, and not mentioning the backsides, which I have too, everyone has, and I definitely also have my weaknesses, which you were very gently going over. But coming to that very practical question, what we do in our organization is we have divided the whole basic foundation training into 9 modules. And every module can either be taught in a weekend, when there would be like every second month there would be a weekend, which is not happening very often anymore, especially nowadays. And the other way to learn that would be these 9 modules are divided in 7 online lessons of 1.5 hours with assignments in between. So altogether, it takes like 1.5 to 2 years to cover the foundation. And there is a lot of interaction between me and the students. It's not just sitting there and listening there for 1.5 hours. There will, as I said, be assignments, there will be feedback. And also for people who are, and that is what is happening more and more, people want to learn in a very free way. They want just to learn whenever they have the time. They want to be very flexible. And for that, we have developed something which we call video training. So people can order 7 videos. They can send in the assignment, and they will have a 1-to-1 lesson with me where we go over everything and where things will be discussed which have not been understood or so. But all in all, you can say it will be like a 1.5 year process, up to 2 years until you get into it. And that's for English and German. And what we also do is we don't insist that everyone has to study from scratch with us. Like if somebody comes and says, well, I have been studying this and that already, we will find a good point where to enter the process. And whoever joins and feels after some time that it's not compliant with their lives anymore or so, then they can also stop without any further financial costs. That was also something we were very serious about. We never did Vedic astrology to make a lot of money. We want to deliver service to people, and we always tried to have student fees which people can manage. No?
Lovely. So any further question coming from? And at this point of time, you can definitely speak with your questions. So Gudrun, I myself had some question. So when you say, Gudrun, about the certification program, so how do the person takes the exam? Like it's an online setting, or is a session where you asking questions?
No, that is not only. So what we do is we train these people. They do the normal foundation training, as we call it. And then in the end, those who decide to go through the exam, they will have another training, which is just like 8 or 10 online sessions, where we just repeat everything. We tell people for next time you study everything about nakshatras, for example, and then we test them, so to say. We just get them trained and make sure they learn the relevant stuff and not all the other things which they might be personally more interested in or so. No? And that's very much also what Aqua does. So I think it's pretty, the program is very classical Parashara astrology. And then people have to write 5 case studies, and they have to send these case studies in to me or to my colleague. And this is, I think, a very important part of the process, because then they are forced to really sit down and bring it to paper, and they will find out where they've got their gaps and so on. No? And then after that's over, they will have a written exam, which we never have done online. We always had people in our place. And the oral exam then was always taken by Vinayji. And sometimes we did that online. There were 1 or 2 years when Vinay could not come because of certain reasons. So we did that part online, that oral exam part. And also we did the same thing this year, obviously, because nobody could travel. No?
Yeah, thank you, Gudrun, for that. And I had one more question coming up from, like, again, just from my side itself, out of curiosity. So, as you said, it takes 1 to 2 hours for a beginner to have the foundation of Jyotish. How about the rest of the session? It's more about it, like people can pick and choose to go from there?
Yes. So usually what we do is we have that training for 1.5 years, and then people can specialize. Some people will specialize more on partnership issues or on prashna. We offer all those trainings, but I think what we are really most known for here in Germany, at least, is the medical part. Because Nick, my husband, has been a very good naturopath, homeopath for more than 25 years. And he has some sort of, I don't know, he has some sort of knowing what is happening on a health level. He got that into a system which does not actually collide with any classical rules as far as we know. It was just brought into a system, and we have also extended that and have done a lot of work on the mental part. So as we are both coming from a health profession, now we have also probably more interest in that field. And that is also why a lot of people start studying with us, because they, for example, come from yoga or Ayurveda background, and they especially want to get into that training.
Lovely. So again, there are 1 or 2 more questions coming from my side is, we know you are really nicely associated with Ashravidya. So my question is more about when you are talking to others about, Ashravidya or the Jyotish Mela. So what are the few things which you think why people should be joining these sessions? Obviously, this time it's a virtual session, so we are not having the flavor of Ashravidya Gurukulam in that. But in general, when the people come in for that, so what are the good things which you have in your session? What has attracted you to be here, so that you would like to let the audience know more about?
Yeah, well, I think it's just, first of all, it's like little India in the middle of America. That's always how I describe it. No? When you are there, you don't feel like in Europe or America, you feel like in India, basically. And the next point is, even before I talk about the nice people, the nice food, the food is very nice. No? And it's all in all a wonderful experience. Last year, Sabine was with me. Yeah, she is here now, I guess so. It's only one Sabine here. And that was actually, on the basis of my experience, the most wonderful year, because I could meet Ronnie again. Camilla was there, Sabine was there, Chitendra was there. No, he is sitting there, I see you all the time. And Linda and so many people. It's like meeting not only friends, those are all very special people. If I had to choose between a family celebration, a fantastic holiday, or 1 week Asha Vidya, I know exactly what I would choose. No? It's fantastic. No? And then also through being there in that wonderful environment, I also got very interested in understanding more about Swamiji, Puja Swamiji, whom I never met. No? Whenever I was there, he wasn't around. So I was there already when he was still around, but he was then in India and not in Salisbury at that point of time. So I got also inspired through different things I then started listening to in YouTube. No? So that's
Yeah.
what, and then the ashram is so generous, like they are offering so much for free now in YouTube, no, where you can follow different like
Yes.
classes, and so it's all in all, I feel that this connection is more in the beginning for me, and it's probably growing over the next years. I hope so.
Yes, I think we are also hoping that, we kind of postponed our Jyotish Mela, keeping that in mind that during August and September we will be able to have in person, but
Yeah,
the situation of Corona is so different at this time that
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
make anybody
yeah.
uncomfortable.
But I
Though
mean,
it,
you have so great teachers there over the years. No, it's always the best teachers. But if I may say so publicly, and I have a lot of Aquarius qualities and planets, so there's a bit of a rebel in me. Nobody mentioned that. I think you should have more women there. I think women are very underrepresented. There were years when I was the only female speaker, so that would be my
Yes, I think we
contribution.
hear that Gudrun really well. So this time, and it's definitely also got pointed from the Roni that we want some women power. So one of the thing which you are seeing is the organizer of the whole event is a woman now,
Yeah,
and so first
that's
that's a
why
change.
I'm bold enough to say that too.
And
Yes,
I've said it to Meenakshi a lot too.
yeah. So in addition to that, we definitely am very.
No, no.
I'm sorry, in the background with the
Yeah.
women, always this small child come. And definitely, so this time we are trying to fill that gap. So you will have 4 women by now. We have
Very
Kamila,
good.
Shaukat, Ronnie, Gudrun. I'm also talking to Dr. Marian Shields if she can join. So it will be more people. We will try to bring that. Definitely, I see that, the mix is very important, especially the change of the tone. I can say that keeps the attention of the attendees. Very simple.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would like to definitely. So, and with that, I definitely would like to know. I mean, we have already maybe kind of repeating ourselves on that front, but your topic of the presentation is very beautiful. So we would like to just know when the people are currently like really health concerned. So you talked about you are going to talk about anxiety and all those. So how will they will be able to, like, do they have to really know and be a advanced student to be able to know your topic, or you think even being a beginner people listen to your lecture and they will benefit out of it?
Well, not quite a beginner. I would say it would have to be the intermediate level where you know a lot of the basics, but where you don't necessarily have to have a lot of experience. But you should know the basics. You should be familiar with everything. I have my education built up like first we start with signs and planets, then we start talk about houses, strength of planets, yogas, dashas. Up to that level, they should definitely be. No, otherwise, it will probably be too challenging, and they might not be able to really get so much out of it.
Got it. And are you also planning, like, in usually what I remember from the last few the conferences, that you talk about, like, when somebody is reading a chart, kind of a counseling skill of a person or a consulting skill of a person you always emphasize upon is very important. So will there be some part of that also coming when we will be?
If I mean the point is, if you want me, if you think that's what the students want, then I'm absolutely happy to give that some space. That is just dependent on what the students want me to do. No.
Understand. So I mean, definitely, that part was like beautifully has been taken care by you. So if not, then the Jyotish Mela we can definitely bring it later on, when you
Yeah.
will have
Yeah.
availability in October and all that, people wants to hear more from you on that front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So we will definitely, plan it out, those sessions, because those are very practical sessions.
Yeah,
Why
yeah. And I think it's so good to be just prepared, no? I mean, every one of us is going to get into difficult situations when we do personal work. And it's always good if we have something in the background where we can fall back upon when we say, okay, now I can use this tool so that I get out of that situation without standing there like a fool, or without giving negative messages to the person opposite. No? So I think this will encourage people also to start doing the work. No?
Yeah, definitely. I see it more as when we are astrologers, when we are trying to talk about others, the other people are really actively listening to us. And that really impacts them, how we position ourselves, how we are unveiling their, like, especially in India, when we hear the word shani, is like, we get set back. That the shani, the shy is coming up. So we should be little careful when I'm having those sessions, and listening more from the people who are like lay down those, like what to do first, what to next will be a really a good exercise for them. So so that I had in mind. So with that, I will definitely again stop myself and ask anybody else, they have more questions, you can take, we have few more minutes, and then we will go towards just concluding the session. So I'm seeing that there is some chat going on. I will quickly see if there is a question. It's more of a comment coming from the Sabina, saying thank you very much, Meenakshi, Ronnie, Gudrun, Rakesh, and Vinayji, for this interesting meeting. And I'm really looking forward to come back to Ashtravidya Gurukulam. Thank you. As soon as possible, it is face-to-face. It was a wonderful time to be there together with Gudrun, and I felt very blessed.
It was wonderful to meet you as well, Sabina, when we were there last year.
Great.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. One more person, I think Jitender said the astrologer is a doctor of mind. So I remember meeting Jitender last time, in the conference. So thank you, Jitender, for joining and your comment. And Suresh Bala is saying, thank you very much, Gudrun. So these are and obviously the thank you coming from the Suzanne bot. So, definitely, we are getting closer to the concluding the session. So Gaurav will be doing the, I'm not very good into mantras, to be very open about that. So I always have helping hands in the mantras for me. I can barely manage while, I have good people. So let me give it to them. So with that, my husband is good into that, proudly saying that. So Saurav, so can you just do the concluding mantra for us?
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Gudrun. And thanks everyone who's participating. It was a very, very nice talk. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Tat Sat.
Thank you. I think thank you everyone. Obviously, there are a lot of thank yous are coming in the chat as well. As we are ending the session from the PAN, thank you so much for wonderful people in Jyotish and from the Rayan. Thank you very much. It was the first time with your organization, and excellent presentation. So definitely with all of that, I know, do not forget to sign up yourself for the beautiful the conference coming up. And with that, and you'll hear more from the Gudrun, Ronnie, and so many speakers. So thanks a lot, and I will not want to go over the time. So we are very close to 10:30, and with that.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for organizing this, Meenakshi. Thank you, and Saurabh, and Rakesh, and Vinay, and
Thank you very
Gudrun.
much.
Yeah, my thanks also
Thank
to
you, Ronnie.
everyone for giving me so much attention. I'm not really used to that. It was an interesting experience. Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Have a wonderful day and stay safe and healthy, everybody. That's most important.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially stay safe and healthy, everybody. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Gudrun. Thank you, everybody, for showing up, your cooperation to us, and, the attention to us is really good. So we just started, but we are growing as a family right now. So thanks a lot.
Thank
you.